John O'Brien, Grandpa Outdoors. I had a guy send me a little message today and said, "Hey, check out this video. You might find it interesting." Same kind of topic that came up with another well-known deer expert here within the last 10 days, where somebody said, "Hey, check out this." For those of you guys who don't know my background, I'm going to try to be as quick as I can. But in 1991, I was one of the first ruminant nutrition consultants in the United States. Had about the number 4 highest producing dairy herd in the United States in the nation at that time, including numerous herds that were high performing in the state. Was involved with research, forage research with the state of Wisconsin. Numerous research throughout my career. I have probably 80,000 forage and samples, grain samples, feed samples in my collection. I believe I know a little bit about ruminant nutrition. So the thing that kind of gets me, but I want to give you guys some education. The term TDN, myself, most reputable ruminant nutritionists stopped using that term, stopped paying attention to that term around 1994, over 31 years ago. It doesn't mean much. The calculation here, and again, like I don't use it, so I even have to refer it sometimes as, okay, you look at protein, crude fiber. We don't use crude fiber. We don't care about crude fiber. It's not something we talk about anymore. And you know, the NFE and fat, and then you times it by 2.23, which that number is pretty meaningless anymore as well, and you get a number and a value for TDN, right? Happy, joy, but it doesn't really tell us anything. Over the years, things have evolved from basic NIR analysis, wet lab, and in vitros, and Mount 2006, and different universities and labs like Rock River Lab, Dairyland Lab that I've used over the years, have defined and refined and dialed in what we're looking for when we're analyzing anything from corn to soybeans to alfalfa to turnips to chicory, you name it. So I, as a wildlife researcher, are always researching at different stages and different products and everything. So again, what should you be looking for, right? So again, you probably can't hardly see this, and again, I'll do some posts. I'll share, the screenshots and that. But when I look at a forage sample, I get the results back. I could care less about TDN. Never used it since probably 94, maybe before then. First thing I look at, of course, is dry matter, right? Because the wetter a forage is, when you're balancing a diet, you don't take moisture into account. Everything's on a dry basis. We look at protein, sure, yes we do. But there's different types of proteins we look at also on the report. And again, you guys may or may not all see this, but soluble protein matters, right? Bypass protein, generally don't get that in a report like that, but it is a fraction of one of the considerations when we balance a diet. For even deer, free range, which is variables in pen deer, any ruminants. Lignin, very important. Is part of some of these calculations, they take lignin into account. Lignin is a portion of your fiber that's not digestible. That's one of the strong components of any forage to help it stand. We want a forage to stand, we want high lignin. But that doesn't mean great nutrition, right? Because it goes through the animal, it's not digestible. But it's taken into account. Sugars. Everybody that follows me, I use so many hours of my researching forages, looking at sugars, and also manipulating any forages for their existing sugar contents, because sugar is is a component of most commonly used energy calculations that reputable full-time ruminant nutritionists use. Starch. There's very low starch in most forages, but yet most of you guys understand there's a lot of starch in corn. Into the year, and it's a very common thing that most people are feeding to deer, but hopefully not at too high level ruminants at the right amount, right? It's on the calculation. And of course, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, potassium, those are factors. We're not covering it today. The big thing is TDN. I apologize. It completely drives me nuts when anybody uses the term TDN, because when I get on the phone with my nutrition buddies, we all laugh. We're like, this guy just lost credibility. They don't understand. They don't do this for a living. Why are you talking about it? Why are people, you guys that are watching this content, even listening to people that don't do ruminant nutrition for a living, and especially people that believe the TDN matters? It doesn't matter. It's not part of the diet when we balance it. And do they put it on here? Sure. Does anybody look at it that does this for a living? No, don't look at it. If we're sending forage samples in for my customers, we don't even talk about it. I can't believe I'm talking about it for 6-7 minutes today. So when we do look at calculations, you'll see things like, like NEL 3X, right? And that I probably lost most of you guys already, but anybody that does this for a living, they understand that's more detail, more dialed in. That's for if you're going to be feeding to lactating dairy cattle, right? But most of you guys if we're talking deer. So then we look at net energy of maintenance, NEM, net energy of gain, right? That's what matters. Those are two factors. Maintenance makes sense, right? Any animal that's in their life living has a certain proportion of their diet, the groceries they take into their body for maintenance. And then a portion goes to growth. And of course, a younger deer, of course, is utilizing more for growth and maintenance. Old mature buck, old mature doe, of course, higher maintenance requirements, lower as a proportion of net energy gain, right? Makes sense. So, what is the purpose of shooting this video? Anybody can reach out to me and I can send you example reports and walk you through what each of these areas mean if you choose to. But so many people are also jumping into this world now, which we expected, where they're analyzing forages. They want to talk about it. They want to talk about the research. And I don't know if people don't know what they don't know, or believe that most people in the wildlife industry will never research, never care. And so there's so much bad information in all areas of the wildlife industry. Misinformation. And for most people, it probably doesn't matter, right? But guys like me that have done this for 34 years, day after day after day, when we hear this, we shake our head, some cases scream, and then eventually, after we've had enough of it, with seeing it enough, my client base reaching out, we say enough is enough. Let's educate the general public if you choose to be educated. That's your call. John O'Brien, Grand Prairie Outdoors. Anybody can reach out to me, 608-235-0628, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., or O'Brionag, OBRIONAG, @gmail.com. And we can talk deer. We can talk deer nutrition. I welcome it. I love it. I thrive on it. Let's.